Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be building a medieval themed park. So I took a load of amazing creations from the workshop and thought it'd be cool to create something myself. One thing that I don't tend to do in my parks is use a lot of verticality. I had a look at some reference images and I found this really cool one with a nice little building down at the bottom and a river going by it and some steps going up to a little village up on the top. So as you can see, I'm just putting this building together. I'm speeding the content up for this one because there's quite a lot in there. I've been playing for probably about 3 or 4 hours, and a lot of this is essentially me just building things and putting walls in around paths. And yeah, I mean it's been a lot of fun to do, but it's also been quite slow going, and I'm not going to make you sit through that. So you can see now the building's starting to take shape. I'm just adding a few additional little bits to it, just to give it a little bit of depth on the walls. So far, after playing this game for quite a long time, I found the medieval theme using a lot of the Viking pieces to be one of the most fun to play with. There's a lot that we can do, and the buildings always come out really nice. If you go on the workshop, you'll see loads and loads of medieval themed buildings that people have used with those same pieces. So you'll see here with these walls around the path, as this place starts to grow, I've committed to this, and yeah, it's taken a long time putting these in. It's painstaking work, but I think the effect is actually really nice, and it kind of makes everything feel a little bit more natural, as opposed to just having those, you know, the standard path curbs, which would be cool if we could get rid of, if there was a way that we could toggle those off. Or maybe just have some preset curbs, like some that look like this. Maybe that'd be quite nice as well, so that we don't have to go through this process with every single path. And you'll see later on in the video that a lot of the paths that I use are quite curved as well, which makes it so much more difficult to get these in. It's not just a simple case of copy and paste, duplicate, and then drag along. Because they're curved, you've got to keep on twisting them and keep on turning them. So I think as I continue after this video, because this is just part one of the whole thing, I think I might just start working on some more kind of long straight paths to prevent that headache a little bit. So I'm just starting to add little bits of scenery to it now, so you'll notice soon it'll start to take shape. Currently we've just got the custom building that I made. I wanted to have this river running through it so that you walk down beside it. It's quite a nice effect. On some of the reference images that I was looking at, there's quite a lot of this. So this one that I'm putting in now, this was one of the pieces that I built a while ago. It's on the workshop, and I'll leave the share code for that on the Frontier workshop as well if anyone wants to use this, because it's quite a nice little building. It's got a couple of shops in it, it's got some toilets in the back, and a built-in path all the way around it. So I thought this would be a really nice one to use, and you'll see later on in the video I start working on the Enchanted Wood, which is probably the best thing that I've done in this game since I started playing it. So here I'm using the bridge that I made in a different YouTube video. That's also on the workshop. If anyone wants to use that, I'll put the share code for that in as well. So this bridge was built specifically for this type of park, and it works perfectly here. So we have the main entrance at the start of the bridge, and then we have this walk over a nice body of water. And as you can see, you can start to see this verticality, a little bit of different levels for people to walk on. It's not all just flat, which is usually what I do. So this bridge looks really nice here. This was one of the another piece that I found on the workshop. Just kind of sets the the two ends of that bridge off really nicely. So yeah, here's the entrance area. Another piece that I found on the workshop. Absolutely incredible stuff, incredible work by a lot of people on there. It just makes things so much easier when you don't have to create everything yourself, you know. You can just use pieces that people have already put their time into. So I really do appreciate that. So you can see at this point, things are starting to take shape. Everything's maybe a little bit sparse. There's not a great deal going on, but improvements do start to get made from this point. Okay, so I start to put some rides in. Just a few. I don't actually hook these up to any paths because there's no guests coming in just yet. I just wanted to get a feel for the space that I've got. Just put a few flat rides in, and yeah, I'm quite happy with what I started to put in here. There's just a few to begin with. Just as the guests come into the park, they've got something to do. We've got some shops and some toilets and things throughout in some of the different buildings. But these are the first few rides that I started to put in. Again, using this height, putting them on some hills so that you can see them from the entrance, you can see them from the distance. So with this bit here, I just wanted to start having a look at just like a little overlook type thing, so people can just take a seat and look over the water back at the entrance. This took me a while actually, because the getting the paths to work properly was a little bit of a pain, but we got there in the end, and then we had to start working with these rock pieces again, just to keep the consistent theme throughout. So as you can see here, obviously when we start using curves, we get this little bit of a headache. You know, it takes quite a while just turning every single piece and putting them into place, but once you start getting onto a straight, it becomes a lot easier. And then I thought I'd just take this a little bit further, and instead of having this huge overhang, I decided to use the rock theme and build those downwards into the water. So you'll see this in a minute anyway. It looks a little bit strange at first. You can tell that everything's just been duplicated, and then I started using some bigger versions of them, putting them in place, and then you'll see in a minute that I started putting just a few wooden planks out as well, just to kind of look like someone had actually built this, because at this stage here it doesn't look particularly great. I think when I'd finished this, actually, I wasn't 100% happy with it even still. It may be something I come back to in a later episode, but for now I think it's okay, because I moved on shortly after this. So here I just started building a path around the outskirts of the village. So the idea with this was to become a bit of a castle wall. So in a later episode, once we've completed this village and we've got everything as we want it to be, I'm going to start working on this castle on the outskirts as well. So the village is going to be kind of enclosed within this. So this was just a nice little walkway around this village so that guests can get to the next part of the park without having to walk through, for example, if they just wanted to go straight over to the castle. So the castle, when I do get to building that, it's going to be quite large. There's going to be some rides in there. We're going to have like a little food hall. We're going to have a roller coaster that runs through it. I've got some really cool ideas for that, but that's going to be in a much later episode. There's a lot of different parts of this park that I want to work on first. Okay, back to the entrance. So I used a little bit of AI to generate me a banner, a screen for the park. So it's called Darkvale Adventure Park, and I initially used this that you can see here. So just using a standard post, putting the screen on it and dotting it around the park. I did come back to this a little bit later because I decided that these billboards looked terrible and not really in keeping with the theme of the park. So I did come back to those, which you'll see later on in this video. So here I'm starting to work on just hooking up the paths to the rides that I put out, just so I've opened the gates. You see, I wanted to get the guests in and just kind of see where the flow goes, and then just take it from there. So again, this was painstaking, so this path took me a long time. I'm just going to skip through this one. Okay, so this is where I decided that I'm going to change the style of these things because they just look really, really dull. And I hope you agree, when we finish with creating these, I really do think that it looks lovely. And the one that we use a little bit later on in the Enchanted Wood, I designed something in Photoshop really quick, just a little bit of a title for it, and that's on a landscape banner. So I extended this out a little bit, put that one on there, and I feel like what I did with the Enchanted Wood, I was really, really happy with, and it's something that I'm going to use as a theme and improve upon that as I go through this park. I feel like it's quite a big undertaking, this park, and that's why I'm not doing it as a long play, which I would normally do. I just feel like it would just take me far too long, and the video on YouTube would be far too long, so I just wanted to do it this way for this. So yeah, when I was happy with the way that the banners looked, I basically replaced all of the previous ones and then just dotted these about the park, which I'll continue to use as well, continue to put those through the park as the park gets bigger, maybe create some different variants of it as well. So as you can see here, this is what I mentioned earlier. I started grabbing the house that I built myself, just dotting it around. And then this is the introduction to the Enchanted Wood. We use that house again in the Enchanted Wood, which you'll see later. And this is what I mentioned earlier about extending this banner and then putting the Enchanted Wood banner in. What I did with this, with the flowers and the plants around it as well, I was really, really happy with as an end result. I did a video on it last week when they released this update, but I just think these banners, these custom video and image banners, really do change the game. They really do give you so much more creative freedom. So, you know, I wouldn't have been able to previously have done this, just being able to put these custom things in there. Just gives it a little bit more of a personalized touch and makes you feel like you're in an actual theme park. So here I'm going to fence the whole Enchanted Wood off, and I'm just checking with the stone guests just to make sure that it's high enough and people can't peek over, because it's supposed to be this mysterious place, you know. You need to go in there to be able to experience it. So at the end of this video, this is not complete. There's still plenty of work to do in there, but you will get the idea of kind of where I wanted to go with it. There's not a lot of pieces in the game for Enchanted Wood, you know. So this is why I duplicated these houses and just tried to make them look like they've been left there for a very long time. You don't really have any spooky trees or like toadstools and that type of thing, which would have been absolutely perfect for this. So I've had to make do with what we have. I am hoping that more themed content does become available at some point soon, especially for things like this. It would be really, really nice to have. So here is when we get down to what I mentioned earlier, just replicating this house. We do this a few times in here, and as you can see, I'm just going to town on it, making it look old, making it look a bit of a ruin. I've got you know, in a couple of minutes we get a tree coming out of the top, and then just start dotting some trees around it as well. So here I'm just making the little kind of walk up to the Enchanted Wood just look a little bit more inviting as well. Just some foliage in there, some bushes, and putting some edging on the paths, which again, I am going to continue with that. I'm going to commit to that. You know, I've made the mistake early on of doing that, and I think to keep the theming up, it's going to have to continue. I did that in here as well, so you'll see in a minute. I started to do this on the path that goes upwards, so we kind of dip down into the lower part, and then we wind that path back upwards. So I started to add the walls around that as well. I just think it makes the whole thing look so much nicer, but wow, does it take some time. So now just put in a few benches in, and I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but I often get this when I'm trying to put benches in. They just don't snap to the edges of the path. So these are a little bit wonky. Once I've done that, just put some of the bins in. The bins do snap, which is lovely, makes it a lot easier to do. And there we go. So that's where I'm going to leave it for this episode. If you haven't watched this, thank you very much, and I really do appreciate it. If you do like this video, please do leave a like on it. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. So this is episode 1 of Darkvale Adventure Park. There are going to be a few more episodes because this thing's going to be quite a good size by the end of it. And yeah, thank you very much. See you next time.